Church recorders are a group of volunteers who belong to a national society. There are about 10 of us in the Isle of Man, and we choose a church. Sometimes we're invited, and we do an academic, detailed record of the contents of the church. The methodology was set out really about 50 years ago by the Victoria and Albert Museum. Each member of the group might specialise in a particular subject, such as the metalwork, silver, or the woodwork, or the stained glass. People often ask, do we need to be experts? Because they get reluctant to join in because they think they need a lot of preliminary knowledge, but we all actually learn on the job. What it needs is an interest particularly in history, an eye for detail, sometimes an interest in family history or the local history. Some people like doing research and they go to the library at MNH and research the background history through the diocesan archives which are kept there. So many people with different interests can find a niche where they can learn, and we all support each other. Strangely, few of us are actually churchgoers. We have mostly retired people because it takes time, and we do it midweek. It takes us usually a year or so to do a church. And that's because we work on site once a week for about 4 hours, but people in their own time do background research. We've worked in churches with absolutely no heating, like the old church at Ballaugh. Church recorders have to be prepared to wear at least 3 layers of clothing and also to be able to move about complicated and places with steps, places that aren't well lit, that kind of thing. The group in the Isle of Man is a very loose connection of volunteers. There's no formal organisation. In order to obtain insurance while we're working, we are all members of what used to be called NADFAS. It's now known as the Arts Society. And it was the founding organisation that took on church recording as a volunteering activity. We are also members of the Church Recording Society. We started in 2004, so we've been going 20 years. And in that time we've done, I think we're on our 17th church now. Some we've done because they're important Manx churches like St John's. When we were asked to do King William's, we were very pleased because it's such a unique place. Even nationally, the National Society has only done 2 or 3 school chapels. And so we were delighted to come in because it has its own atmosphere, and it's always been such an integral part of the history of the college. We were immediately struck by the architecture in the building. I mean, the first thing you notice when you come in is the seating arrangement, and there's some extraordinary woodwork in here which we found quite complicated to describe. When we had a closer look, we found that the history of the college is completely embedded in this place because there are so many memorials and there's so many areas of the college that have been donated by leading figures in the college history that we soon got sort of sucked in to the atmosphere of a place so connected with its community. I got involved with this shortly before I retired because I'd just bought myself a new digital camera, and my wife was a recorder, mostly doing the textiles, and they needed someone to do the photography because up until then, most of the photography had been done on very simple old-fashioned cameras. And so I got involved as a photographer. But then after about 3 or 4 years, the person who ran the group retired to do a PhD, Manx Studies, and didn't have the time for it. And I was asked to take over, and I've been doing it about 10 years now. I find it very rewarding. I mean, we have a great group of people doing it, many of whom have been doing it a long time. And it is a kind of itch like doing all research. You just keep having to scratch it. There's always something interesting to find out. I also like the challenge of trying to describe something quite complicated in an accurate but simple way. And it's a learning experience because many of these things have technical terms which we're expected to use. So it's treading a fine line between pure architectural jargon, if you like, and trying to just describe something the reader can understand, supported by the photographs. So it's quite fun. People often ask, well, what happens when you've finished? Who sees it? The project that was started 50 years ago was prompted by the idea that there is a terrific amount of unrecorded history wrapped up in churches. Local people and the church are particularly interested in seeing who had donated, what was the family history of the people, and also a detailed description of the items in the church. So copies go to the V&A, to Church Care England, to the local county libraries. In the case of the Isle of Man, that's the Manx Museum. In the previous years, it did cost quite a lot to do the photography, have the films developed, and so it does cost a surprising amount to actually complete the project and get it printed and bound and published. And that's where we've been very fortunate to get funding from Culture Vannin, who've supported the project here at King William's College. These documents will form a valuable part of the record because they capture a moment in time. They also bring together for the first time in one place various threads that centre around a particular community, because historically churches have always been the centre of a community. So in looking through the donors, the descriptions, the manufacturers and so forth, I think this record, and also the visual record, does provide something which future people will find valuable, because it doesn't exist anywhere else.